Have you ever heard of a book that just completely changed the game? I mean, imagine this. A slim volume of poems, translated from Bengali into simple English, shows up in London and just electrifies the entire literary world. Today, we're going to dive into how Rabindranath Tagore's Gitanjali did exactly that, stirring the very soul of the West over a century ago. Okay, and our guide on this journey is none other than the great Irish poet W.B. Yeats. In 1912, he got his hands on a manuscript of these poems, and his reaction? Well, it wasn't some stuffy academic review. It was visceral. It was deep. It was something he absolutely had to share. I mean, just think about that for a second. This is a giant of literature, a man of letters, and he's so overcome with emotion by these words that he's afraid a stranger might see him crying. So that really sets up the big question for us. What on earth was in this collection, Gitanjali, which means song offerings, that could move a man like W.B. Yeats to tears?
Yeats knew right away that to really get the poetry, he had to understand the poet. This wasn't just about words on a page. He could feel that this was the soul of a real person, and he needed to find out who that person was. So Yeats starts asking around the Indian community in London. And the answers he got, they weren't just a simple biography. No, what he encountered was this deep, profound reverence that was totally foreign to his modern European world. People didn't just admire Tagore, they almost worshipped him.
And what he slowly pieced together was that Tagore wasn't just some famous author back in Bengal. He was something more. He was a living legend, a cultural icon, a spiritual figure, whose art and life were seen as the exact same thing. In fact, a Bengali doctor actually sat down and sketched out this incredible life story for Yeats. You have this young prodigy, already famous as a teenager. Then he goes through this immense personal tragedy, which leads to him writing the most beautiful love poetry in the language. And after that, his work just keeps getting deeper, more religious, more philosophical. What a journey.
And here's the kicker. This wasn't just about artistic inspiration. Yeats learns that Tagore's creativity came from this incredibly deep spiritual discipline. Every single morning at 3 a.m., he would sit in meditation. This wasn't just a habit, it was the very source of his art. And, this kind of genius doesn't just appear out of nowhere. Tagore was born into this absolutely extraordinary family. I mean, his father was a famous spiritual leader, his brother a great philosopher, his nephews were celebrated artists. He was literally breathing in art, music, and spirituality from the day he was born.
So this all brings us to the real heart of the matter. Why Gitanjali was such a bombshell for its Western readers. It wasn't just that the poetry was beautiful. It was that it offered a totally different way to think about God and spirituality. Yeats saw this huge contrast. In the European tradition, the path to holiness often meant renouncing the world, locking yourself away in a monastery, fasting, rejecting all the messy parts of being human. But Tagore's vision was the complete opposite. As one person told Yeats, he was a saint who has not refused to live, but has spoken out of life itself. And this poem just nails that idea perfectly. God isn't hiding away in some pristine temple. No, for Tagore, God is right there in the dirt and the sweat of everyday work. With the farmer in the field, with the laborer on the road, the truly holy path is the one covered in dust. And this incredible embrace of all of life, well, it extended to the one thing we all have to face, its end. In the West, death was so often framed as this terrifying final stop. But for Tagore, it was something else entirely. Just let that line sink in, because I love this life. I know I shall love death as well. It's this breathtaking statement of total acceptance. It sees life and death not as enemies, but as two sides of the very same coin, part of one single beautiful, beloved existence. And that's really the secret, isn't it? This was a spirituality that wasn't locked behind dogma or scripture. It was accessible. It was life-affirming. And that's why these poems could just leap across every cultural and religious barrier and speak straight to the heart. Yeats really captured this paradox perfectly. He saw that, yes, these poems were the product of a rich, sophisticated culture, but at the same time, they felt as natural and universal as grass growing from the earth. They spoke to something fundamental in all of us. Take the very first poem. It kicks right off with this idea of an endless cycle. It says, "Our lives are like these little vessels that a divine creative force is constantly emptying and refilling with new life." And then you have verses like this one, which have become a global anthem for freedom and human dignity. It's a prayer for a world without fear, a world where everyone can learn and grow. It's as powerful today as it was 100 years ago. And he finds this mind-blowing meaning in the simplest things. I love this image. You have the vastness of the universe, storms, even death lurking. And what's happening? Children are playing. Life in its purest form just continues, beautifully unaware of all the chaos. So, in the end, Yeats figured it out. The incredible power of Gitanjali wasn't that it was exotic or strange. It was the exact opposite. He felt it was like looking in a mirror and seeing the reflection of your own soul's deepest longings. It was like hearing your own voice, as if from a dream. And so, here we are, more than a century later. And after stirring the entire world, Tagore's song offerings leave us with this profoundly simple and deeply personal question. It's an invitation for all of us to stop looking for the sacred somewhere else and to start finding it right here, in the beautiful dust of our own lives.